Hey everyone, Cynics here, and I'm finally bringing you part 3 of the Puppet Time Design Lab. I don't really know anything about crafts, and I can't sew, so there's a lot of limitations I had going for me. I'll be honest, this one was a complete struggle. Nonetheless, it's a fun little learning process, and hopefully I can become a master puppet builder someday. Anyway, let's get on with it. So in the last part, I presented some finalists for you guys, and you guys selected a winner, and the winner that got the most votes was Go Hadouken. So congratulations, Go Hadouken, your design won. And I can't deny it's a very cute design. You got Hugh and his little pet cat. I will try my best to do some justice to your design. Now, I don't know the proper steps people might do, but for me, step 1 was to make a little foam puppet skull. I found an old piece of foam in the closet, and luckily enough, there's plenty of guides online for how to make a puppet skull, so I just followed a simple guide and did my best to make a little skull shape. Of course, a puppet skull is really just like a sphere with a mouth on it, a little bit like Pac-Man. I started out by trying to put things together with hot glue, but I quickly realized that was pretty hard to manage, so I went out to the store and bought some contact cement. Contact cement is definitely way better for gluing together little foam parts. It's super strong and you can put things together with a very soft touch. Once that was all together, I just had to add a little mouth plate in there, so I cut up an old box and just kind of glued that in there as well. And you can see here me playing with it a little bit. I put a little piece of foam on the bottom and top of the cardboard just so it would hold my fingers. But overall, if I had to do this again, I would definitely make the puppet skull a little bit bigger. I could barely fit my hand inside this thing. With the skull complete, I just had to head over to the fabric store and pick up some cheap fabrics. I think finding the colors you want is actually one of the hardest things to do, but maybe I'm just too picky as an artist. I definitely took some liberties and just picked colors that I think might work. If you do wind up at a fabric store like Joann's or something, be sure to check the scrap pile first because you can usually find what you're looking for in there, and it's pre-cut and it's cheaper because it's a scrap, so it's a great deal all around. And you don't have to wait in their long fabric cutting line. Of course, now that I have these fabrics, I still have to deal with the problem that I don't know how to sew. I decided to just use contact cement and glue the fabric straight to the foam. It's definitely not the ideal solution, but I tried my best to make it work. It's probably faster than sewing, and as a bonus you get to enjoy some wonderfully poisonous fumes. After I finished getting some skin on the head, I decided to add some black felt to the mouth plates just to make everything look a little more polished. And here you can see a little video clip of that as the puppet starts to really take shape. Now that we have that main structure finished, we just need to start adding clothes and accessories. I saw a plastic egg container in the garbage, and that seemed like the perfect opportunity to get some lenses for our goggles. I cut out some plastic circles and used a pipe cleaner and some hot glue to add some form to it. With a couple thin strips of fabric holding things together, I think the goggles came out pretty nice. At this time, I also added a couple little eyes to our puppet, and these are just simple little push-in craft eyes that I got at the fabric store. I think the small eyes actually make it feel pretty unique. Anyway, the best part about these goggles is that you can actually just tie them in the back and they fit perfectly over the eyes, so you can actually functionally wear them on your little puppet. He looks super silly, but it's a lot of fun to put them on and take them off. You might also notice I constructed a simple tube out of brown fabric just to give him a body and cover up my arm. I wasn't entirely sure how I was going to do the arms, but I cut out little foam hands and decided to use those as a guide and make little fabric gloves for them. I also cut out some little pieces of foam to use for shoulders, and I figured I'd just use loose fabric for the actual arms. I'll be honest, I didn't expect these gloves to come out nicely at all, but they really surpassed my expectations. Considering I was using contact cement to make the seam and not sewing it together, I was pleasantly surprised when I flipped them inside out and found out that they actually had a nice glove shape. I think that was my proudest moment of the whole project. Anyway, here you can see a quick little video of how I made the arm sleeve, and the gloves were made in the same fashion. Just using contact cement to glue a piece of fabric together on one edge and then flipping it inside out. I really do need to learn how to sew someday. Anyway, the time and effort I was putting into this project was becoming a bit ridiculous, so I even managed to convince my wife to come speed things up and cut out some fabric patterns for me. That was nice of her. Luckily, it started to look more and more like a puppet. I put some wire in the arms and also hot glued them to the body, and at this point it's almost done. You just gotta dress him up a little bit. So I put that little pattern on the poncho and cut a hole for his head, and now he's got some real clothing. I tried to make him a little red scarf out of yarn, but in hindsight I should have just bought a little scarf because trying to make one out of yarn was definitely not a good idea. I also fumbled around trying to make some sort of backpack, but I couldn't really figure out how to make it work, and I didn't want to have to keep delaying this video. I'm sorry, I'm too much of an amateur when it comes to this puppet stuff. So for the time being, he's not going to have his backpack, and I know it's a major part of the design and the character. I did start making his little cat, but sadly he doesn't have a place to live. So here's a bit of a finished puppet. You can see him here without his red scarf, and he's nice and fun. He's got some personality. You can move his little arms around if you put a stick in there. But trying to figure out how to move a mouth and a hand around at the same time is apparently way too difficult for me because I couldn't get it to look good. Anyway, here's his full finished look with his red scarf and a paintbrush thrown into his hand. So that's about it. Maybe we can try to give him a silly little voice, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of Design Lab. Feel free to suggest topics for future episodes of Design Lab in the comments below.
Oh, hello there. My name is Hugh. I do hope you enjoyed watching me come to life. Thank you to everyone who participated in this episode. And a big thank you to all of the wonderful patrons who support Cynics' videos. You guys are the true puppets.
What the? You can't say that.
What? That's a compliment. Huh. Anyway, see ya everyone. What are you doing back there? Just a heart attack?